Welcome to Selling Seven Figures Top Performers Tell All, hosted by Kevin Mullaney. Each month, we're diving deep to uncover the secrets of selling big, closing smart, and hitting your highest goals. One guest, one mission. Let's make more money. Ready? Let's go. Let's go.
All right, folks, welcome back. We are on season 3, episode 2. Super excited. There is a very good looking man on the other side of my screen. His name is Matthew Lamb, and he is the CEO of Brandability. As always, you know me, Kevin Mullaney, the Pat McAfee of promotional branding, marketing, and podcasting. Matthew, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing great, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
I noticed that you've got a little bit of glow to you today. You look very, very happy. My only assumption is that you have just returned from Vegas for the largest trade show in the world, and you are happy that you likely don't have to go back to Las Vegas anytime soon, correct?
You're 100% correct.
It's fun for a short time, not for a long time. And if you've been doing it as long as you've been doing it, you know what I'm talking about. So, Matthew, you've got an amazing story. We're super excited to dive in and learn more about it. But I don't know this question or the answer to this question. How exactly did you get into the branded merchandise industry?
Well, I entered straight out of college as a 21-year-old. So I was looking at a few different opportunities like any college grad. And there was one opportunity with a top 40 distributor at the time called Gateway CDI here in St. Louis. It's now Grand Edition, but it wasn't the highest paying opportunity that I had, but I took it anyway because the opportunity to work directly for a business owner was something that I really valued, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Really interesting. And education-wise, did you go to business school, or was that your major? Talk to me about the education before we got to the business.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I graduated I did undergrad in Louisville and studied psychology, had a minor in business, and when I graduated, I was planning to go into master's program in clinical psychology, but this took me on a different path, and I ended up getting my MBA many years later at WashU. But
all right, excellent. This is all starting to make a little bit more sense about why you're so good at what you do and all the things that you've done in your amazing career. If you didn't get into branded merchandise, if you didn't fall where you fell, is there something that, you look over the side of your eye and say, hey, I think I'd be really good at that, or that would be interesting to me?
Yeah, for some reason, I've always dreamed of being a dual college professor and soccer coach at that college. So that's the dream.
That would be so much fun. I'm all geared up in my orange and blue. A good buddy of mine's actually going into our high school Hall of Fame, so we're going to celebrate after this. So
Very cool.
He was a sweeper on our soccer team. He was a beast, so I completely get that. That's really, really cool. I love that answer for you. Okay, so to give people a little bit of background, the way I know Matthew is he brought our team on when I was with Brandito onto the Facilis platform. And he was doing this for 13 years. He was basically kind of the first line of the onboarding process. Once you sign up with Facilis, this was a major overhaul for a lot of businesses that were operating under pen and paper, sticky notes. I said it all the time. The way we used to do it was in the Harry Potter era. We would tie our purchase orders, wrap it up, give it to an owl, and hope it got to Hogwarts so that we could have all of our promo items in time for the Quidditch World Cup. So you dealt with a lot of different business owners, a lot of people that probably didn't want to give up, their roles, responsibilities, authorities, et cetera, et cetera. It was a complete business change. So walk me through some of your highlights, what you loved most about that job that you did for Facilis. And we'll talk a little bit more about the business owners on that side, if you don't mind. So tell me a little bit about that role and what you loved about it.
Yeah, it was, and I remember that training well in Richmond with you there. That was, you made that much more animated and entertaining than the norm. So thank you.
We were very excited about this. I do say that platform it was the structure that we needed. We had the people, and hopefully you agree, right? We had the creativity, we had the youth, we had the energy, and we had the clients. We did just need that platform, and it was perfect for us.
Yeah. And I think I came to really embrace the you never knew what you were walking into. Like you were saying, the amount of change that was afoot, people generally don't like that, kept you on your toes, to say the least. I mean, I saw people quit on the spot, scream, fall asleep. I mean, it was all everything you could imagine and more. So the stories are endless. It was, but most importantly, it was an incredible learning opportunity, working with, like you were saying, some of the most talented people in the industry in a pretty intimate way, and combining that with the data that we had on the back end was just, I mean, a license to learn. It was fantastic.
Yeah. And to give people some perspective, Matthew would come on site. It was a part of the process. It was non-negotiable. This was before Zoom became the norm. And he would come on site to your campus, to your office. If you had multiple offices, I guess you just figured that out, or everyone came in. But for us, it was amazing. I think we had you for 2.5 days. And it got emotional. When you left, like we were like, don't leave. Please don't leave. And you had this awesome kind of farewell speech to us, which made us feel like, hey, we weren't just a number that you were adding on to the system. But I think that speaks volumes to what kind of God gave you a bunch of gifts, but empathy, understanding, and just relationship building in just that short amount of time, because we were sold by someone different, right? Randy Conley was really the person who brought us in. We didn't get much version of Matthew Lamb. Michael and I had some exposure to you, just meeting you in Las Vegas and some of those meet and greets, but you do a really great job of really meeting that team where they are. So kudos to you. You were really perfect for that role.
Yeah, well, thanks. I think it's like anything in life. The more you do something, the better you're going to get. And we definitely, I mean, we went through some pretty major growth phases there, to where I was doing that, essentially every other week, getting on a plane, flying to a new city, new company, going through it. And like I said, it never got stale or mundane. And I learned as much from everyone I trained as anything. So it just became a snowball effect of getting really comfortable. And I think that's the key with anything. The more comfortable you are with something, the more you can be yourself, the more you can let go of. You don't need to spend your mental energy and time preparing and everything on what am I going to say and what is this going to look like. Once you get past that, and it's that 10,000 hour rule. So it takes a lot of work to get there, but once you get over that hump, gosh, it's fun. You really get to be yourself and really engage. And you mentioned empathy in a whole different level. And that's where I think the goal should be for anybody in any profession.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I appreciate that insight. So when we first kind of got signed on, there were just so many different kind of old school people that have been doing it forever. But as you know, there was an absolute cast of characters as far as business owners were concerned. Any kind of one story that might stand out about, whether it's a slogan, a saying, a mantra from some of these, many of the business owners that you onboarded, or just a unique strategy that maybe one of those business owners and entrepreneurs had that kind of stick out at you?
Yeah, there's a treasure trove of stories and lessons learned, and it's really difficult to even try to come at one. I'm gonna throw a few at you if that's okay.
Please, the more the merrier.
Quick stories that come to mind that I think about all the time. So there's a company that is still in the industry. I think when they joined they were probably 6 million. I think they're around 40 million right now, and just such a cool thing to see. But the primary owner, the face of the company, et cetera. One of the things I really admire about, and I think has been the key to their growth, is he understands who he is and he understands who he isn't. And he doesn't try to be it all. So when you think about what's the role of a CEO, and especially in small business, gosh, you're going to get a lot of different answers. I mean, look around just Facilis Group of the industry, and you're going to see that. The fact that guy recognized that and set his ego aside and surrounded himself with really talented people that were strong where he was weak, I think is the entire story there. Way easier said than done, but to see that firsthand and then stick to that. He happened to be a great salesperson, and he did that. He did his thing. And again, easier said than done. Another one that comes to mind, similar growth story and trajectory, just massive growth, is just a company that has scaled in a way where they're doing the exact same thing, same target market, same services, which is pretty basic stuff. No company stores, no glitz and glamour, no left turns. And they've just scaled very profitably, very consistently, very methodically. So always between 10 and 35% for a decade straight. It's just really remarkable. So another good fundamental reminder there. And then the slogan, the mantra that you mentioned that is just life-changing for me is a mentor line this lunch up, and the guy looked me in the eye and said, "It's not about you." And I'll never forget it. It's the most important thing probably anybody's ever said to me. I think those 4 words can be the key to leading a fulfilling life, to leadership, to you name it. And, I know that, I hear it, it's made a big impact, and yet I continue to often struggle getting out of my own head, but really valuable stuff.
I love it. I think you nailed it on the hiring people smarter than you, right? Or aces in their places is what we used to call it. I think that's different specifically in that industry. Again, we could say this about any industry, right? They're all unique. They all have their different nuances. But it's really hard to bring in someone without the industry experience, but they're smart, educated, street smart, right? Witty, crafty, self-starters, to get those people to be put in the right fit position so they can maximize their potential. That's when the company goes on rocket ships, but harder to do, right? And it's really hard to identify that talent. Or last thing, right? When you're growing a business, hard to attract that talent, right? Where's the money going to come from? Are we ready for this seat to be filled? And if we do it, we better do it right. So great point there. For the 44 people that watch this podcast, I know you're going to be getting a lot of DMs about that growth rate without any online stores. So be ready for that. Because I still think that's a lot of the dream in the branded merchandise area where you're, the stores seem to still be where you're servicing the nightmare in order to try and sell the dream. But I've been out of it for a while. I heard that is getting a lot better. And then I love the last point. It's not about you. Reminds me of the book, Who Moved My Cheese? It's just a great thought process to have. And I listened to one of your previous podcasts before prepping for you here with Kirby, and you mentioned that one. And that was a nice little remembrance to keep in mind at home, in life, wherever it is. So great nuggets there. So you had amazing experience at Facilis, 13 years. That is a lifetime in this new world of job hopping. You made a huge move and you moved over to Brandability and you took on the role of CEO. That's a big, scary jump. So walk me through kind of maybe why, right? And then I think what you and I talked about is for the person that's not sure if they're ready to make the jump, for the person that has dreams of leading a company to being a CEO, maybe didn't have the education and the MBA really built to do it, what type of advice would you give to people that want more out of their professional career, but it's a big switch, it's a big transition. So I know I threw a lot at you there, so try and digest that however you can.
Sure. Yeah. So to speak to why I left Facilis, it was, like you said, a long run there, first full-time employee, very proud of everything we built together, and ultimately, becoming a publicly traded company. There's a lot of change that happened that last, those last few years that is just part of the deal. But as I mentioned before, I was really blessed to be in the position to work with such a talented team and have great success there and ongoing learning. And it never got to a point where I was actually looking to leave. That's what's really interesting about that story for me. So maybe I'll speak to that in a moment. But as far as what led to me leaving, I was praying about what my next chapter looked like, and I think God opened some doors. And so, that was a 2-year thing, though. You hear those things all the time, and I think most of us, myself included, can get really impatient and anxious about that, and then force the agenda. Well, nobody's calling is forced; it's received, and so that was wonderful to be able to have that door eventually open up, and I just knew it was. I wasn't pursuing it, like I said, and Brandability wasn't pursuing me. That's a pretty strong signal to say this was God had a hand in my view. But to your question about what would I say to someone scared, because it was, I mean, leaving all of that behind was a big leap for me. It was a huge leap for Brandability. And I would say one thing, anybody that's becoming a parent for the first time, everyone hears the same thing. There's never the right time. You're never quote unquote ready. And sometimes in life, you just need to dive in. And so I think a large part of leadership is always working on yourself and being comfortable with chaos and adversity and change and those things that come with the territory. So I think one of the most important things we can do as leaders is lead by example. And that starts with working on ourselves in a healthy way. So a dysfunctional way to work on yourself is believing I'm never good enough. My flaws are holding me back. All of these whispers in our head that can hold us back in life. A healthy way is to have the self-awareness to recognize that we're human. We're going to make mistakes like everyone else. We're not perfect, and we can use these things to walk in humility. And if you're working on yourself and investing in yourself physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, you're ready. You are. You just need to get out of your own head and take the leap. If you're not, then I would encourage you to kind of be on that path. What are those healthy habits? What would that growth look like? And to me, that's not a checkpoint you ever get to, but that would be the litmus test that I would recommend. Because leadership and growth they're not a destination or a title. They're a journey. And so, remember, it's not about you. If you get that, you're going to be ready to serve others and you'll be fine.
Fantastic. Really, really great example. And I don't know how I've not heard that, the parenting analogy, right? Like everyone says there's nothing I can do to possibly pretend that you will know what you're doing until you just do it yourself, right? There's no amount of books that can help, right? Again, kind of like what you're saying, you're preparing yourself, you're investing in yourself. And you're making the changes, whether it's time commitment, selflessness. It's no longer about you for sure in the parenting analogy, right? So great analogy there. I love that. And you've spoken about your faith a number of times kind of throughout this, 18 minutes or so. And when you and I kind of reconnected, I knew and I could feel that was a big part of your decision about joining Brandability. So if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of hear your perspective on, without the risk of sounding like a non-believer, but when is it gut? When does it make business sense? And then when is it, kind of an idea that matches up with your spirituality and your ethos, if that's fair? Another loaded question for you, Matthew.
Yeah, no. Bring them on. I mean, I, like everyone else, was raised in the corporate world to never talk about politics or religion. And, I think it's offensive to religion to couple those two things together. So I'm leaving politics away from all of this. I think that's sound advice, but,
yes.
I think that's how I was raised. That's how I lived my professional life. And yet, I believe God had other plans for me. And so lo and behold, there were things that entered into my universe and people that I was breaking bread with, that the conversation, the genuine get to know you and connection turned into faith somehow or another. And so despite me following the rules, that's how it started showing up. And as I started maturing, I was more comfortable in leaning into that and not avoiding it, I guess is the best way to put it, because it wasn't going out and making it happen. But, when I first met Brandability, walked into their building 15 years ago, that was very apparent. That's how they rolled. And it was amazing. It kind of blew my mind, frankly, I saw this team going on mission trips together, praying together, and I just didn't even know that was a possibility in business at the time. So lo and behold, a dozen years later, the opportunity to be a part of that was too much to pass up. And within a year of me joining, we reinstituted mission trips, and I was on one in Honduras with the team, and it was like, wow, what a moment that was,
Yeah, this is work, quote unquote, right? This is the real work that you're trying to fulfill. And again, it's just like this, right? Like, it's not about you as a great mantra, but I think the only thing that I always think about when I go on like a vacation with my family or do something that I want to do, I love work, right? I know you do too, but we work so we can live, right? We work so we can really do the things that we're truly passionate about, right? But you do have to work. You have to bring in a paycheck. You have to pay for things. But it's fantastic you're able to find something that you're so passionate about and is able to fulfill you in other ways. And, oh, by the way, you're clocking in while you're doing it. That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's a great gift to be able to bring that into the workplace and see people growing spiritually. Is way more fulfilling than anything a spreadsheet or financial statement can drive.
Yeah. Well, you're doing an amazing job. We're going to have one more question before we go to our farewell senior quote. But, this is inspiring. This is encouraging for anyone that's willing to make the leap. Is there anything that was, a big, not a big fall, but, something that you skimmed your knee on in this transition, something you didn't see coming, a roadblock that became more challenging than maybe you thought throughout this journey coming over as CEO of Brandability?
Yeah, there's been a ton of challenges, and I mean that just comes with the territory in any business. But I think the hardest thing for me in general has been to find the right pace. I love to move at 100 miles an hour all day, every day, and what I've learned is that's not good for the team. Then I learned it's not good for the company, and eventually I've had to realize the painful truth that it's not good for me. And so I've had to really kind of come to terms with things, try and reinvent myself in some ways. And I'm learning every step of the way, and I'm committed to finding what that harmony with the team looks like. I think we've come a long way, and I work with amazing salt of the earth people, and when you do that, things become a lot more forgiving, and we can work through things respectfully, learn and grow together, and try to have fun and enjoy the ride, which is an area I'm also working on. And part of that is surrounding myself with people that know how to crack a joke and have fun, because it's definitely doesn't come as naturally to me, but I definitely appreciate it, enjoy it. And, so pace and space are huge areas I'm working on. Pace, I spoke to, creating that space to allow for every minute of every day to not have to be optimized and ultra efficient and effective is, I think the key. And I'm learning that every day and just trying to really commit to that. So this 2026 has been a big reset for me of rediscovering and recommitting to some of those boundaries and guardrails where I can try to find that balance of both having, the blocked time, the efficient and effective, but also having enough breathing room in any given day to really be with people and create that margin and space that I think is necessary for all of us.
If I know you and I know what your Google Calendar looks like, I'd imagine it's not too different from that perfect day with maybe a couple little bit more buffers for Matthew Lamb, correct?
That's right. You got it.
Well, the one thing I'll say, man, is you've been a professor on this podcast, but when you talked about tempo, finding the right pace, I think that goes back to, live this dream as your soccer coach, right? Like now you can put in the right formations, right? Clearly you have the right players. But tactically year to year, we might need to find the right pace, to make sure that, team's not getting gassed out, counterattacking when it's the right time, et cetera, et cetera. So I still think you're going to be able to live all those lives that you wanted to live when you talked about not being in promo. So the last thing, if you don't mind, and I know it's not about you, will likely be the quote that I'll remember from this conversation, but anything else as far as a senior quote to leave the audience with? You've been fantastic. This has been amazing. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I do have, I like a good quote. The one that I have actually used probably the most and go to all the time is sometimes you have to play a long time to be able to play like yourself. It's by Miles Davis. And if you have any appreciation for music or jazz, I think there's a lot to unpack with that statement. And it's kind of like what we talked about earlier of getting that foundational stuff behind you, to be able to authentically be yourself, be cool in your own skin. And that's a journey, but it's a long one that most of us, but taking those masks off, not trying to be anything that you aren't, not trying to be somebody else, and getting to the place where you are comfortable and confident in that you are enough, you matter. It's everything. Life's too short and you can't make everyone like you. You can't be other people, so find your authentic self and be that person completely and fully. There's no other way to live. Let your life shine. Let your light shine. That's my parting shot.
Man, this was awesome. You were awesome. Season 3 is off to a great start. We had Roger on last week, and we were talking a lot about self-growth and working on yourself first, right? And then you can focus on your family and your business, but you got to take care of yourself first. So I think you touched on that a little bit as well and gave us a ton of extra to chew on. So Matthew, thank you. Good luck. Still play catch up on your rest from Las Vegas. And again, wishing you nothing but the best. This has been an absolute treat for me and hopefully our audience.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Really appreciate it. It was fun.
You bet. Take care, man. Thanks, Matthew.
All right. See ya.